Please be advised, we are not mental health professionals. Any information shared in this podcast is from our own personal experiences and should not be seen or taken as any form of medical or professional advice.
Hi guys! Thanks for coming to another podcast.
Welcome to our channel.
Yeah, welcome to our channel.
Okay. We're going to talk about trauma.
We're going to talk about all the things that make us feel icky inside. But we're going to turn that ick into a good feeling. Now everybody hug. Okay. All right. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Victimless Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we just want to invite you on the journey of cultivating a safe place and a community, just for others to feel seen and heard and validated through their experiences. Our goal is to help you find victory through victim mindset, through validation. We're here to help others on their own healing journeys, to help break you from those cycles of stuck self-loathing talk, and those stuck cycles from childhood trauma, and giving you a new life and freedom. We're so glad you're here. And please, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click that like as well. Give us a thumbs up. Kat's been doing some amazing work on just finding some little videos for us and things that we have discussed. So we're going to be discussing a little video about the difference of the critical talk that is that was consistent in our environment. I will say that for me, very, very critical, discussion, and the importance of why we no longer strive to accept that criticism. So I can say for me that it's not just a criticism of every little mistake. It is literally a criticism of every single conversation.
Well, yeah, if y'all know me, I am chronically online, and I am on TikTok basically all hours of the day, in between working and when I first get up, which isn't really healthy, I don't think, but the doom scrolling is real. However, I have found some healing, it's called healing talk or heal talk or something like that, where people talk about their trauma, and they talk about their recovery, and they talk about narcissism, and they talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. And I've been able to apply some of the things that I've seen. So I would like to share those with you today that I found on TikTok.
Yes. And we are in the process of getting our social media together. So if you would like to, you could go ahead and give us a follow at Victimless Podcast on Instagram or Victimless Podcast on TikTok.
On TikTok. Don't forget TikTok.
Yes.
I love TikTok. Anyway, today we are going to be watching a video, and this one, honestly, this is my favorite one, because I say this all the time, and I have finally found where I originally heard it, and I would like to share that today.
Yeah, and you were the first one to share that with me, like just the statement. And I remember when you told me that, I was at my office, and I'm like, hold on! I had to write it down. And please, like, one of the important things, if there's one thing that has helped me, I have like a little Post-it note or something, just something that I can tangibly write something down, because we have our phones. I mean, I have my phone here, and it's very easy to do this, but I get so overloaded. I need something visual. So I personally, like, I wrote it down on a little Post-it note and I stick it, because I need to remind myself, and I will tell myself that over and over and over. If you're told that you're stupid, you're a dummy or whatever, or you're trash, or, when you're told all of these things over and over and over, you believe it. So that is why I choose to do something tangible in front of me, on paper. So I'm just like, no, I'm not going to I'm not going to do that. So I can remind myself over and over. I don't know if you have any tools or anything that helps you.
I do. I'll like write on my mirror sometimes.
Yes.
That I'll see in the morning.
Dry erase marker on the mirror.
That's right.
For the win.
That's right. Because I really need to remember this. So let's watch this and we'll talk about it, because It's a lot.
It's so
It's a
good.
lot in a tiny little bit.
Yes.
All right.
If we don't trust their advice, we don't trust their criticism either. If they are not a person that you would go to and say, I really value how you're living your life. I would like advice on how to get there. I would like advice on how you do this thing, or I would like advice on how you handle it. If we would not go to them with that, then we are not going to take their criticism to heart. We are not going to take their criticism and say, I'm going to believe this thing about myself. We will not. We won't. This is an agreement that you and I are making together. Okay? Got it? Yep. And this is an agreement. We're not going to do that anymore. If we don't trust their advice, we don't trust their criticism either.
Amen.
We're like 1 second behind. I know, right?
Amen.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So when I first saw that, I was like, I can think of so many people that I wouldn't trust their advice on how to fix my lawnmower, because I really just don't trust them. But I do.
Have people I wouldn't I wouldn't trust on my outfit choice. Like, how does this make me look? I'm like, I got tired of being like, oh, that makes you look pregnant. That makes you look fat. Are you sure you want to wear that?
I take their criticism, and I don't think about the fact that I don't trust them. Why would I take their criticism if I wouldn't take their advice?
Right. Toxic people are not trustworthy. They're not. When they are, especially narcissistic, toxic people are not trustworthy. Yeah. Because they can't be trusted with, I mean, I wouldn't even trust them for advice, that they would give me the solid advice that's best for me.
Right. If I wouldn't trust how, I can't think of any examples right at this exact moment.
I'll give you an example. I was talking to my sister recently, and it's a perfect example. I was just sharing some things. We were talking, she was getting food, and now, for those of you who don't know, I've been dealing with some pretty severe medical stuff for the last few years, and praise the Lord that it is seriously on the mend. Like, it is on the upswing. Definitely had some scary scenarios and situations, but I will the reason I say that is I preface that my sister was the first person I called, the very first person I called when this all started going south. And I told her, I said, this might be what does me in. This was the exact words. And her response was, are you thinking of killing yourself? Exact tone. And I said, no, I might commit myself. I feel like I'm going out of my mind. Oh, that was her response. Never once did I get asked about my mental health, about my emotional state, how I was handling things. I never got asked, like, do you need help with anything? Finances, like food. Do you need help with anything? It was all like, she never asked me. It was always just, oh, how is that going? I mean, I guess, I don't know. There was no in-depth discussion, right? So it's been that. And so I was talking to her very recently, and while I was going to work, and we were talking about breakfast, and I randomly mentioned, I'm like, you just reminded me, I have not even tried the Waffle House that opened in town 3 years ago because I've been, and I said, but I don't know if I can eat it yet, so I don't really want to waste the money. Just having a conversation.
Or trying to.
Yes. So she interrupts to give her advice and says, well, it's not like she said something along the lines of, well, Waffle House is cheap, or it's not like it's expensive, or Waffle House is cheap food, relatively cheap. That sounds like more something she would say. And I said, I know, I'm just tired of throwing money down the toilet. Like, I'm tired of throwing up money down the toilet, because you and I know that I've literally been getting physically ill, sometimes for the entire day, sometimes once a day, sometimes twice a day. Again, praise the Lord, it is getting a lot better.
It is, I can tell.
Not going into detail, like, it's not, yes. And so it's not like it's expensive. Okay, we were talking about clothes, because of course I've lost some weight. Not just, I mean, I tend to try and be healthy and things like that. And I've lost some weight, and I was trying on some new clothes, and I was talking to her, and I said, oh, I ordered these clothes online, and thankfully I'm close to that store that I ordered from. And I said, I'm so glad, because I went to go try the pants on, and I actually need a size smaller. And her response was, oh, I don't like their sizing. It's all up. It's never even, or she was just critiquing the sizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's never a happy,
like, good for you, or like,
yeah, that's great, or yeah, that can be a pain, but I'm so glad that you're close, or but how fun. Acknowledge that you're listening to the conversation.
active
They don't
listening.
listen. There's no active listening. Active listening should probably be a core subject in schools these days.
Right, because I feel like some people are just waiting for their turn to talk. Or to talk about themselves, and like, it's so complicated because, social things, and I probably am on an ADHD spectrum, but honestly, like, just engage in the conversation. Especially someone like your sister who, pardon me, but she's very negative. And yeah, it's difficult when you want to engage with somebody and share your life, and then you stop wanting to.
Yeah. And when I did
like
stop sharing my life, that's a whole nother thing to talk about. Because there was a huge word salad attempt a couple times. So yeah, it makes it's a very, I think it makes it very hard because the environment that, that we're in, the training grounds that we're in our growing up environment, it's such a painful, hard thing because, I mean, what was it? Do you remember like a couple months ago, I called you and I said, I've got to tell you, I had such a good moment because I ran over my vacuum cord with my vacuum. My fault, operator error.
Yeah.
Very first thing I did, I ran it over, I unplugged it, and I was like, Jennifer, you're so stupid. Oh my gosh, why didn't you? And I stopped because that is the talk, the criticism of any little mistake of, any little, I feel like there's that allowance for mistakes. We don't allow that safe space for us to make a mistake. So we don't grow, which creates that part of that CPTSD for me of that such a reactive anxiety panic of I have to be perfect. Oh my gosh. Like on like shaking on eggshells.
Even though it was just you in your own house by yourself, that negative self-talk is still there because that's what you grew up with.
Yeah, because I made a mistake. I immediately stopped and looked straight in the mirror and I was like, no, you are not stupid. You made a decision. You know better. Let's move on.
Yeah, I know we'll always go back to talking to our inner child because it's like, that's why I write on the mirror. Like, I have to tell my inner child, like, by the way, all of this other stuff, I've seen other people do it right on their mirrors, and it's like, yeah, it's good to start the day
started doing that. No, I love it because I started doing that with dry erase marker, I think like 13, 14, 15 years ago. It is the best thing, I have dry erase markers everywhere.
So, you talked about looking in the mirror and talking to yourself. Are there any other ways that you have dealt with that negative self-talk? Because I trust myself. Going back to this TikTok, I do trust myself. I do take my criticism of myself, but sometimes it's not my criticism, it's my parents' criticism.
Right. It's the pre-programmed criticism.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's even just the little things. It's those little subconscious or almost like subliminal messages that are, and even just the conversations. I remember like in high school, I was getting up early and working out, doing the Billy Blanks, loved the Tae-Bo. I loved it. I am definitely more. Yes. So I was working out with Billy Blanks and, Tae-Bo. And I remember my mom was putting makeup on. We were in the bathroom and getting ready. And my dad just, he was like, oh, Jenny's up. And yeah. And my mom, yeah, she was working out. Oh, waited a little bit. And I will never forget this. Oh, he whispers, I wonder how long that's going to last. I mean, just all of those little subliminal digs. Yes. And then any conversation that you can't have that conversation of, like, you can laugh. It's not even, it's just this.
It wasn't like, oh, good for you. I hope that works out. Yeah. Or good for you. I hope you feel, active. It's like, oh, Okay.
But that's also what led into the toxic diet culture for myself. The toxic, eating disorders, things like that, that they have zero clue about, because of the repetitive of, my mom buying me a Richard Simmons weight loss program in, I think, like 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah.
So they'd buy these programs, but there was no like nurturing education.
Right. I had a terrible relationship with food growing up because I have lymphedema, and my parents didn't know or take me to the doctor after a certain time in my life. Just religious reasons, like, not trusting doctors and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I had a very, very bad relationship with food, and I was on a diet, and I wasn't losing weight because it was a medical thing. And I learned to talk to myself like they talk to me about myself.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we learn language. Mama, dada, baba, whatever you want to say.
But now I wouldn't take my mom's advice on dieting because, and you mentioned something, I'll never forget this. She wanted me to start a diet with her. I was 16, so it's a little bit older. But she had us take before photos. And I felt absolutely humiliated because she had me dressed down to my underwear. So, bra and underwear. And had me, took pictures of me and of the different, like had me go to my side and had me face onward. And it was absolutely humiliating, but I wanted to also, be supportive because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And so, like, from that point on, I realized slowly, this wasn't right away, but I realized I can't trust her with this because she doesn't realize what that does to a kid. Like, she hated herself and her own body so much that she projected onto me, even though I had little control over what happened with, the different ways that my body looks over time. So I wouldn't take her criticism on my body now.
No.
If she was like, oh, you're getting a little... okay. And whatever.
If that's my value to you is my body image, if that is what my character and my value means to you, is the core is my what I look like, then I don't need to accept anything from you. Because I love myself in a way that I have wanted to love myself my whole life. And I've learned just through like books and therapy, I stayed in a cycle of constant dieting and constant deprivation, throwing up, like starvation, trying, specific calorie stuff. And I would lose and then I'd gain and then I'd gain more. You should have seen everything I ate yesterday. I was so excited. And I didn't get sick and I was so excited.
Good.
But for the first time in my life, like I'm starting to feel healthy without having some sort of program or powder or protein or something. And I'm losing weight. Like I feel healthy just because I, and I do feel like that PTSD, CPTSD, that trauma, we carry it with us. And I think sometimes it can show up in people not being able to gain weight, not being able to lose weight. And I think that bringing up criticism, the whole body image, the body shaming, I know people who are so skinny, they wish they could gain weight. But yet people who are heavy are rude and bully to them. And then people who are thin wish, exactly. Like we just need to remind ourselves, we're all human. If I have feelings, they have feelings, so why are we choosing to take criticisms from people that don't have our best intentions? The truth is, the criticism that we received, it wasn't for the best intentions for us. It was for the best outlook for them.
Right.
The best
and that's
appearance.
Yeah. And I know everybody's different, but that touches on the narcissism too, where how you behave, how you look reflects on me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why a lot of it in public, they'd put that they'd actually you know, my dad would actually put his arm around me or pat my back. And now I'm just like, I love my dad, but it's just, I don't trust the touch.
Right.
Like I have so many boundaries up now. I'm like, you need to earn that back. When you start receiving healthy advice from a safe person, from a therapist, it sounds like a second language. Like health talk was my second language. You know, healthy talk was my second language, and I had to learn it. Yeah, I mean, it's just hard because internalizing, when you hear that, I would stand in the mirror and tell myself, like, I would be crying and I'd be like, you're just so fat. Why are you so stupid?
Yeah.
Why are you so ugly? Like, it just, oh, wow. It does. Yeah. It does a lot. It is so detrimental because you criticize everything that you do silently as a child because you don't want, oh, she's getting alerted. I'm okay.
She's like, Mom, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. She's getting alerted. She's such a good girl. So it's, I mean, I just try and think of like, you know, that little third grader who just wanted to fit in and was hearing bullying from school because, you know, I was getting made fun of at school, and then going home and being told I'm not good enough in so many ways.
Yeah, getting bullied at home.
Yeah, it's just, you know, and it's hard because that criticism, you know, the advice that they give, let's talk about the advice they give. The advice they give are sticks and stones will hurt your, you know, if everyone jumped off a bridge, or if everyone, you know, did this, you know, would you do that? Or, oh, they're just ignore them. So we're supposed to ignore them, but we're supposed to learn and believe from our parents.
Yeah, we trust the adults around us. We don't know any better.
The advice we receive is criticism. So we learned that our advice, we're literally criticizing ourselves. Oh, didn't plan on that.
It's okay.
Welcome to real life.
Just for me, a lot of it has to do with body image.
Yeah.
Because diet culture was such a huge thing with my mom and like in my family, because, you know, people want to look good, and that's fine. That's great. You want to be healthy. You want to be active. I had issues that I didn't know about, and neither did they. And so, you know, what, are you cheating on your diet? Are you being lazy? You're not actually you're not doing them the right way, because obviously there's not results. And so I honestly kept that with me for a very, very long time. And it's only been recently where I've just been like, you know what, especially after like a medical diagnosis, I've been like, you know what? I can take up space. I can be as big as I want to be, personality and like the body. I am healthy. I am active. I actually am active, like with my job, especially, like I'm active all the time. I'm lifting weights basically. And, I'm eating right. I love salads. And so the thing about that is like, I don't always see results, but I'm healthy in my own way. And the thing about narcissists is it seems like they can't comprehend the fact that someone else would be different from them.
Yeah. And we're okay with it.
Or have a different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just be like, oh, you're that big and you are okay with it? Yeah, actually. And what of it?
Well, and I've talked to you, you know, that the stages of weight loss and things like that. Like, I've talked to you that my mom actually did a lot of tips, gave us, you know, some really good tips. I will say she is more of the codependent. My dad and my sister are different spectrum on the spectrum of narcissism in different ways. One very more malignant, one very more like covert, you know, self kind of righteous-ish, grandiose. But we'll get into that more later. But my mom, like, she gave us great tips, you know. We were not allowed to wear it. Now, I will say this. We weren't allowed to wear makeup until we learned how to put it on properly. Again, we did not have YouTube or Google. But we were told, from a young age, I don't care what you put on your face, you wash it, you always wear sunscreen. Put some sort of sunscreen on.
That's good advice, I think.
So, yeah, so I would say 95% of the time throughout my life, I've put sunscreen on. I mean, I will even put sunscreen, just the basic sunscreen for the pool, if I don't have a moisturizer that has it in it. And there's a lot of views and a lot of opinions about that, but it's something I do every day, you know. And she would, you know, do little things like that. And I do feel, you know, being in the relationship with a narcissist, things like that, I do give grace in the sense of there's the manipulation on that end. At the same time, they're responsible and accountable for their choices and actions. But I truly try and give as much grace as possible as I've changed how I interact with all of them. So she did give a lot of good tips. And I do feel like I said the whole diet thing came in like 5th, 6th grade. I mean, seriously, I just, you know, that's like right at prepubescent, right at puberty for a lot of girls.
It's an important time for...
Yeah, a lot of hormone changes. So the first thing I know is diet. Instead of maybe give your children smaller portions. Maybe don't force your child to clear their plate or they get in trouble. You know, maybe don't force your child to eat, you know, a whole 2 boxes of cookies within 10 minutes because you caught them eating cookies. So I got caught getting into the Girl Scout cookies one year. We had a deep freeze downstairs. My dad caught me. So I had 10 minutes to eat like 3 boxes of cookies, or he would come in and there would be discipline. So he'd set the timer. I'd sit in the kitchen. He set the timer on the microwave so I could watch it. And I'd have 10 minutes to eat all of the cookies since I wanted to eat the cookies so bad. And then if I didn't eat them all, every 10 minutes, he'd come in and there would be discipline. I even mentioned that to my mom recently. And
That's
I said, like,
psycho.
I mean, yeah. So I mentioned that to my mom recently. And, I mean, within the last 6 months or whatever. And she goes, yeah, I didn't like when he did that.
Thanks,
So
Mom.
that is why I will not take her criticism nor her advice. I love her so much. I wish my family would engage in my life more in a sense of, you know, but because they don't, I won't take their advice. You know, why would we take their advice and criticism when the entire relationship is a one-sided control? You know?
Yeah. And you don't know that growing up. You don't realize. No. So you take their advice and you take their criticism, but you don't realize that actually...
Yeah.
It's
like
really
it shrinks,
toxic.
like it's scientifically proven. All of that trauma and stuff affects the psyche. It shrinks our hippocampus, which is part of our, it's a huge thing. And the big thing would be like for us to hear, you know, I'm sorry, and like changed behavior. But the reality is they don't change their behavior. So stop changing how you approach it. I personally changed how I said things, how I approached things, how I did things, to try and how I verbalized it. So maybe I was saying something negative and that's why they were being critical.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So they're just being critical.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not about giving up. It's about prioritizing yourself for the first time. Yeah. And just being like, you know what? This isn't going to change because that repetitive behavior has never changed in them. So I need to take care of myself.
Yep. Nothing changes if...
Nothing changes.
Nothing changes. Cat, we nailed that one.
Boom.
Boom, boom. I love you.
Oh my gosh.
So, but that's true. And so I know this is kind of like a very deep, you know, kind of like a feeling you might get, because you might, I'm hoping that this podcast has kind of really spurred some memories we want to spur them in a healthy way. So if it's bringing up those yuck feelings, take some time to just sit with that and evaluate it. Write stuff down, journal it out, get it out, journal it out so you can know to talk to your therapist about it and get those out. Share with us, you know, what kind of criticisms did you hear? Do you struggle with the diet culture? Do you struggle? Yeah. And that's why there's, you know, that's why the diet culture is such a multi-billion-dollar business. because we're so focused on image instead of the heart of the person. We're focused on the appearance.
Mm-hmm. And all bodies are different.
Exactly. And it goes back to, it fuels that offense, the judgment culture, the opinion culture, because we don't have healthy environments to have these discussions. So this is the environment to do it. Shoot us a comment. Give us some feedback. What kind of things did you hear? What kind of things do you tell yourself? How can you rewire that? Write it down and then reword it. Talk to yourself differently. And we are our biggest advocate.
Please give us some advice too. If you have a good way that you've been able to deal with this, or any of the self-talk, please give us, your tips and tricks, because we are wanting to learn from you guys as well. Just us talking about it is able to get that out. And honestly, that's what my car is for. I will have full-on conversations. I look crazy, but I will have full-on conversations in my car because nobody else can hear, and I need to get it out. I journal, that's all good. That's all good stuff. Yeah. I need more resources. I do enjoy hearing from people and how they deal with that self-talk. Yes. So please let us know what you do and how you've dealt with that in the past as well.
Yes. Are you an active person? I like to go take my dog for a run or a walk, or like you, get out. We have a lot of, where I live, thankfully they haven't torn down all the trees. So I will go drive around the country. I'll go drive around where you used to live, where there's all the trees and the hills, and take the dog, or, there's a lot of waterfall areas. We'll go hiking. What do you do? I will legit have my windows up in my car and scream as loud as I can. We have to, there's no wrong way. Yeah. Well, there are wrong ways.
Well, there's
no wrong healthy way to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, we want you to be healthy. So, any tools, any tricks, any tips, we want to hear from you. Yes.
Let's share with each other.
Yes. I mean, we're community, we're together. And if you're like me, I have a mother who is a codependent, a father and a sister who are both on different spectrums of the narcissism scale. So we all live in different states, and I do have an older brother. Unfortunately, we're just not that close right now. It's just, there's a different dynamic. We'll get into that a different day. I love him so much, and his wife and his kids. I love you guys. But we all live in different states. And because I've chosen to not engage with that toxic party as much, I have decided to go low to minimal contact. And it is very hard. So I want you to know that this is a community. I do talk to my family. I do love my family.
Absolutely.
But it is not a healthy, nurturing family communication. So it can be very, very hard. It can be very, very hard at times, but it can be very lonely. It can be very isolating, especially when everyone around you just assumes oh, you've got it together, because we had to grow up really fast. That's what that criticism does, right? We have to grow up and figure it out really fast too. And so we appear like we have everything together, while internally and outwardly within our private lives, we're literally just trying to keep it together. Yet on the
hanging on by a thread.
Yet we look put all together. So Ziva's like, keep it together? I got this.
Honestly, having pets has been so helpful too, because I sometimes just need to cuddle some reptiles or a doggy.
Yes.
And it does help.
Or a kit.
Oh, a kit.
It does. So, but so we're here for a community. Reach out to us. You need someone to chit chat. We are not therapists, but let's hear, how does that resonate? We want to let you know you're not alone. Your feelings are valid. Your experience is real. It's okay, but you can get through it. You can, there is hope on the other side. There's healing through discussion. And
thank you all for joining us today. We are going to go through some healing TikToks in the near future, and leave a comment, subscribe, like the video, and you can reach us at victimlesspodcast@gmail.com. Catch us on the next episode. We'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Remember, you are not a victim. What happened to you was real, but your future and outcome can change. Cat, I literally almost...
What?
Okay. I almost picked up the paper. I was like, oh, here. I was going to...
Oh, thanks. Appreciate ya. Did I tell you that I was in the grocery store the other day and I turned on my blinker with my shopping... I went to turn on my blinker with my shopping cart. I was so burnt out. I literally was waiting to go down the aisle and I went to flip on a blinker and I was just like...
Right. You're like, no one saw that, right?
No one did.
I locked my office door the other day and I turned and I hit the button to lock it with my car lock too. I'm like, yep,
yeah, it's one of those days. It
I
is.
just kept walking.
Blah, 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 blah. Hope to see you there.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah,
Thank
blah,
you. Blah, blah.
blah.
Okay.
Blah, blah.
Love you, bye.
Blah, 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 blah.